Welcome back to Apex Sci-Fi. In the strategic manual of the Vuhl-Ka Empire, there was a chapter titled, The Sanctity of the Core. The Vuhl-Ka were a race of transdimensional architects who had mastered the art of the Ether Gate. They didn't need fleets of starships to conquer a sector. They simply opened a wormhole from their homeworld, Ethelgard, directly into the atmosphere of a target planet. They would strike with lightning speed, harvest what they needed, and vanish back through the gate before a counterattack could be organized. To the Vuhl-Ka, their homeworld was a sanctuary, a paradise of floating ivory towers and crystalline gardens that had never seen the soot of a factory or the blood of a battlefield. They viewed the rest of the galaxy as a resource larder, and themselves as the ultimate untouchable predators. For 500 years, no enemy had ever set foot on Vuhl-Ka soil. They believed their gates were one-way mirrors. They could see you but you could never reach them. They made the mistake of opening a gate on Viridia Prime, a human mining colony guarded by the 7th Gatecrashers Division of the Iron Vanguard. The assault began at 0400 hours. A massive, swirling teal vortex opened in the center of the colony's primary landing pad. Vuhl-Ka warp raiders, sleek, ethereal warriors in white and gold energy suits, poured out, their sonic blades humming. They expected the usual, panicked miners and a desperate, disorganized defense. But Colonel Sarah Vandal Vane was ready. She didn't order her troops to retreat or blow the gate. She ordered them to fix bayonets and hold the threshold. "Listen up, you Vandal bastards." Sarah's voice crackled over the squad comms. She stood behind a mobile barricade, her heavy rail shotgun, the doorman, resting on the rim. The Vuhl-Ka think they're the only ones who can use a door. They think Ethelgard is a safe room. We're going to prove them wrong. We aren't closing this gate. We're taking it. Aura. The battle for the landing pad was short and incredibly violent. The Vuhl-Ka were used to fighting people who were afraid of them. They weren't prepared for the Iron Vanguard. The humans didn't stay at a distance, they charged. They used heavy riot shields to block the sonic blades and fired point-blank kinetic rounds into the aliens' delicate energy armor. Sarah Vane led the charge, the doorman spitting fire with every pump. She didn't just kill the raiders, she pushed them back toward the vortex. "Now!" Sarah roared. "Armor units through the hole. Don't stop until you see a palace." The Gatecrashers did something that violated every law of Vuhl-Ka physics. They didn't just defend the gate, they invaded it. Sarah was the first through. The transition through the Ether Gate was a split second of sensory deprivation, a soundless, weightless void, and then, a sudden explosion of light and air. She slammed her boots onto a floor made of polished white pearl. She was in the Grand Plaza of Ethelgard. The sky was a perfect, cloudless gold. The air smelled of jasmine and expensive perfume. Around her, thousands of Vuhl-Ka civilians were strolling through gardens, their long, flowing robes shimmering in the sun. They stopped and stared, their delicate faces frozen in a mask of absolute, world-shattering shock. For the first time in their history, the barbarians had followed them home. "Spread out," Sarah commanded as her squad poured out of the gate behind her. "Secure the perimeter. Plant the beacons." The Vuhl-Ka Home Guard scrambled to respond. They were an ornamental force, dressed in beautiful armor that had never seen a real bullet. They fired beams of concentrated light that looked like jewelry. The humans responded with high-explosive squash-head, HESH, rounds. The ivory pillars of the Grand Plaza, which had stood for a millennium, began to shatter under the impact of human kinetics. The crystalline gardens were crushed under the treads of saber light tanks that were being winched through the gate by heavy-duty Terran cables. They are desecrating the core," the Vuhl-Ka High Seer cried out from his floating balcony, watching the soot of human smoke grenades stain the white marble. "How dare they bring their filth to Ethelgard?" Sarah Vane looked up at the High Seer. She adjusted her helmet, her visor reflecting the golden sun. "You open the door, pal," she yelled, her voice amplified by her suit's external speakers. "On Earth we have a rule. If you invite us to your house, don't be surprised when we start rearranging the furniture." The Gatecrashers moved through the city with a speed that the Vuhl-Ka couldn't comprehend. The humans didn't care about the architecture or the history. They had a single objective, the Gate Hub. This was the central facility that controlled every wormhole in the Vuhl-Ka network. The fight for the hub was a masterclass in urban breaching. The humans used melta-charges to turn the Vuhl-Ka's reinforced pearl doors into molten slag. They used flashbangs to blind the light-sensitive eyes of the aliens. It was a collision of two worlds. The elegant, static perfection of the Vuhl-Ka versus the dirty, adaptive violence of humanity. Sarah found herself in the central control chamber. It was a massive room filled with floating holographic maps of the galaxy. The High Seer stood there, protected by a dense energy field. "You cannot stay here, human," he hissed, his voice trembling with a mixture of rage and fear. "You are a flea on a masterpiece. Our fleet will return from Viridia and erase you." "Your fleet isn't coming back," Sarah said, checking her ammo. "Because we just changed the locks." She tapped her gauntlet, and a human tech specialist behind her jammed a logic virus spike into the Vuhl-Ka's primary crystal lattice. The holographic maps flickered. All across the galaxy, the Vuhl-Ka gates began to collapse. The raiding parties were cut off, stranded on hostile worlds. And here, in the heart of Ethelgard, the primary gate began to hum with a new, aggressive frequency. "This gate is now a one-way street," Sarah said, stepping toward the seer. "And it only points to Earth." The High Seer looked at the screen. He saw the human fleet, the massive dreadnoughts and the mammoth tanks, lining up on the other side of the gate on Viridia. They weren't coming to raid. They were coming to occupy. You are conquerors," the seer whispered. "You are the monsters we feared." "No," Sarah said, lowering her shotgun. "We're the guys you shouldn't have messed with. You thought you could treat the galaxy like your personal buffet. Well, the buffet is closed. Now it's time to pay the bill." The Vuhl-Ka Empire collapsed in a single day. Ethelgard, the unreachable paradise, became the headquarters for the Terran Occupational Authority. The humans didn't destroy the ivory towers, they just built barracks in the plazas and painted the Terran flag on the walls. The Galactic Council was paralyzed by the news. They had spent centuries trying to negotiate with the Vuhl-Ka, only to have the humans solve the problem by walking through the front door and punching the master of the house in the face. "The humans have no respect for dimensional borders," a council diplomat complained. "They have turned a high-tier civilization into a colony in 24 hours. Sarah Vane, now the military governor of Ethelgard, sat on the High Seer's former throne, eating a bowl of Terran combat rations. She looked at the council's holographic messenger. "Borders are just lines on a map until someone crosses them," Sarah said. "The Vuhl-Ka thought they were safe because they had a magic door. They forgot that for a human, a door isn't a wall. It's a challenge. You want to stay safe in this galaxy? Then don't open any doors you aren't prepared for us to walk through." Humanity had proven the ultimate offensive HFY truth. The best way to stop an invasion is to finish it on the enemy's lawn. You can have the best technology in the universe, but if you give a human a way into your home, they're going to take it, and they're going to bring their boots, their tanks, and their very loud guns with them. This has been Apex Sci-Fi. If you open a window to Earth, don't be surprised when the Iron Vanguard comes through the door. If you enjoyed this trans-dimensional counterattack, hit that like button. Comment below. If you had a portal, where's the first place you'd gate crash? Subscribe for the next front of the Iron Vanguard, the sniper's silence. The gate is green. The Vanguard is through.